The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Do you think Dr. Fauci still has a diary somewhere? So the latest revelations this week, which is why he is pleading the fifth today. And if you're wondering when that happened, this morning. The hearing's going on as we speak. And yes, Dr. Fauci pleaded the fifth. I'll play the audio in a moment. But it's because he was doing a diary during COVID, but he was typing it into his work computer because he believed he was such a hero that he was going to need all this for some kind of big autobiography or something. And so he had it on his computer, which was a government computer, which eventually Rand Paul and others in Congress could subpoena and get the evidence. And we talked about some of that. We will talk more about that in a moment. But do you think he's got like a written diary? He just moved on to pen and paper? It's got to be somewhere, right? You get access to that diary. After he pleads the fifth, then he complains that Rand Paul is a big meanie. Doesn't he know that I am the science? Also, do you think he... who knew the science could plead the fifth? Who knew that was a thing? We'll talk about the latest of this. To give my voice of reason take real quick, at first I didn't mind Dr. Fauci. A lot of people kind of liked him. Seemed reasonable. When the virus first hit, obviously we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know how to respond to it. There was a lot of guessing. But as it went on and on and on, it became obvious how it worked. Became obvious it didn't affect children, didn't affect young people. Became obvious that the mask, maybe had marginal effects. We probably should have had young people go back to work, children go back to school, and protect the most vulnerable and the elderly in a way in our society. Would have been the best way to do it or something. And then you could do events outside and everything else. But the mask and the lockdowns and social distancing became a political divide, and it really became a tool of virtue signaling. Instead of the mask being about really trying to protect yourself and others from the virus, it really became more about, look how good of a person I am because I'm wearing the mask. I care about grandma, and you don't. That's what happened. And it dragged on, and especially in some of the Democrat states, for months on end. And we find out now that Dr. Fauci, he lied about a lot of this stuff. So it should be a major fall from grace today for him, having to plead the fifth. But the propaganda press and the Democrat Party, they're going to defend him. We just heard it during Dale's show. Chris Love constantly trying to defend him. They cannot let go of the hero worship of Dr. Fauci. So we'll talk about that in a moment. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Also coming up on the show, we have the Alabama Bullet Points, the top stories from around the state. The bottom of the hour, we're going to speak with Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch. He's an expert when it comes to radical Islamism in the Middle East. I want to talk to him about the latest in Iran, and there's breaking news today in Iran as well. We know that President Trump yesterday met with Benjamin Netanyahu, also the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky. That was, I believe, after the funeral, the memorial ceremony for the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Later on, we'll talk about that as well because the Senate was able to advance a sanctions bill against Iran and Russia in honor of Lindsey Graham, and Katie Britt talked about that. In the next hour, we have to talk about the continuing debate, feud, moral panic over data centers because Doug Jones, who's trying to make some kind of impact in his run for governor, he's trying to separate himself from Tuberville on that issue. So we'll talk about that. Also, flock cameras. That's also the latest moral panic, flock cameras. So we'll talk about that. And then, yes, we'll talk about, there's so much other stuff going on, honestly, that we'll have to get to. Oh, and Walker's here as well. She's producing today. She's going to do What's Trending later on. Walker, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I have been wondering what the flock cameras are. Especially since Dale sent us his "Hey, it's Franklin" meme.
So in fairness to you, I didn't know what it was until like this weekend. And now everyone is talking about it. It became a giant issue, moral panic across the country and in Alabama. And I'll explain it later, I guess.
Yeah, all I know is people are destroying them.
Yeah, people are destroying them. They want them taken down. It's 1984. And I'm like, dear God. With some of this stuff. So, okay, good. Oh, I'm glad you're here then, Walker, because we'll do that later.
All right.
I'll end the show with the Yaffee program rewind. And yes, we always take your text messages on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. Okay, let's get to the latest here because we do have the latest news that there's a hearing in front of the Senate where Dr. Fauci, who's no longer with the government and he has a pardon from Joe Biden on anything he's done in the past, decided today to plead the fifth. And that's because basically Rand Paul came out earlier this week and said, look, the pardon would not apply to anything you did now. So if he pardoned himself now, they could charge him. So they wanted to ask him about diary entries because, I mean, the biggest thing, which we talked about this week that came out of the diary, is in January of 2026, he admitted that the Wuhan lab, or not the Wuhan lab, he admitted that the Wuhan wet market was probably not the source of the virus. He did not admit it was maybe a lab leak, but later on that year, he was saying he believed that's where it came from. So definitely a big contradiction there. But anyway, go ahead if you can, Walker. Go on and skip down to cut 2 of Dr. Fauci. This is him pleading the fifth this morning.
Under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
All right, so pretty simple. He just kept doing that. There was a funny little bit apparently where Rand Paul asked if he had a notebook in front of them, and he said, "I plead the fifth." So they're like, "Let the record show he can't answer if there's a notebook in front of him." I don't know, something stupid. Speaking of Rand Paul, who's been really big on this topic for a while, the reason why he's been hammering Dr. Fauci is there was gain of function research going on at that coronavirus Wuhan lab, which part of it was funded by a grant approved by Dr. Fauci. And Dr. Fauci said they weren't doing gain of function, but they pretty much were. So Rand Paul's not a huge fan, but he's the one leading this hearing today. Going to play the Rand Paul cut for me, Walker.
President Biden issued you a sweeping pardon extending back to 2014, the same pardon he gave to his son Hunter. A pardon may protect a person from criminal prosecution, doesn't rewrite history. It does not erase documents. It does not convert a misleading statement into a truthful one. And it does not prevent Congress from establishing what happened. There will be another pandemic. There will be another crisis. And there will again be officials who insist that uncertainty must be hidden for the public's own good. They will demand obedience. They will invoke science. I am the science, as though it were a commandment. They will argue that government officials cannot be questioned because questioning them would undermine public trust. They have it backwards. It is secrecy that destroys trust. It is arrogance that destroys trust. It is censorship that destroys trust. And it is the refusal to admit error that destroys trust. That loss of trust may be your most damaging legacy.
I mean, he's exactly right there. In fact, the Wall Street, I read some of this yesterday. I want to read it again because I think this is the best way to put it. The Wall Street Journal editorial board, kind of reacting to the Fauci diaries, said the COVID record shows that his advice was often wrong, and in the case of the lockdowns, catastrophically so. This is why voters increasingly rebel against rule by the quote-unquote experts. After reading the Fauci diaries, the real question is why we'd ever allow such a person to rule over us in that way again. Now, I did want to mention, as I said, he was caught in a lie about a lie. In his diary, he said he knew it didn't originate from the wet market. Maybe the wet market was just an amplifier. He said that in January 2020, and then later on said it originated. Let me give you an example. Go on and play Dr. Fauci cut 1 for me.
The data that are accumulating now become more and more compelling that the origin was from the Wuhan wet market because of animals that should not have been there in the first place.
That was later in 2020 when he's speaking to Congress. So in January of 2020, he wrote it in his diary, that it did not originate there, and then later on kept saying it did. Now, why? Because he had connections, seems like. He had connections to the lab where this probably leaked. Now, every time I think about the lab leak theory, which they really discounted until, it's basically been proven now. You can't prove it absolutely because China's never going to cooperate. And China is the real problem. Even if it didn't come from the lab, China covered up a lot of this stuff in the beginning. If we would have known how it was spreading in the beginning, we could have isolated it to China, but China covered it up. Most likely because it leaked from their lab. But I always think of this bit. I want to play a role. Jon Stewart, of all people, not usually a fan of him. But I remember, I think this was like a couple years ago, he was on Stephen Colbert. And honestly, this is just the common sense take. He was right. Play the Jon Stewart cut.
That could very well be, and Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins and NIH have said, it should definitely be investigated.
Don't stop with the logic and people and things. The name of the disease.
Wait a second.
The building.
Wait a second. But it could be possible. You could be right. It could be possible that they have the lab in Wuhan to study the novel coronavirus diseases because in Wuhan, there are a lot of novel coronavirus diseases because of the bat population there.
I understand.
It's like the saying,
it's a local specialty, and it's the only place to find bats. You won't find bats anywhere else. Wait, Austin, Texas has thousands of them that fly out of a cave every night. Every night at dusk. Is there a coronavirus, an Austin coronavirus? No, it doesn't seem to be an Austin coronavirus. The only coronavirus we have is in Wuhan.
Yes.
Where they have a lab called, what's the lab called again, Stephen?
The Wuhan Novel Coronavirus Lab.
I believe that's the case.
And
now,
how long have you worked for Senator Ron Johnson?
Let me tell you something. About Ron Johnson. This is not a conspiracy. Here's the thing about science.
You could be right. You could be right.
But this is the problem with science. Science is incredible, but they don't know when to stop, and nobody in the room with those cats ever goes, I don't know if we should do that. They're... A few years back.
I agree with you. If science can do it, they will do it.
They will do it. They're like, curiosity killed the cat. Oh, okay, well, let's kill 10,000 cats to find out why. And you're like...
and it goes on, but it's actually... I always think about that, because he's like, look, it's on the building. The novel coronavirus lab in Wuhan, where the virus originated, and we know that people that worked at the lab caught it. But Dr. Fauci, he kept denying that. He kept trying to cover that up. The question is why... And now he's pleading the fifth. Fauci lied, people died. China lied, and people died. If you want to weigh in, you can. We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. We'll move on to some Alabama news and politics next with the bullet points, and Robert Spencer will join us at the bottom of the hour as well. You are listening to the Yaffee Program.
The Yaffee Program.
Welcome back to the Yaffee Program. We are here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Don't forget, if you miss any of the show live, the podcast will be up on the website, WVNN.com, or anywhere you get your podcast. Let's get to those headlines right now. Once again, we have the Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Sponsored by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Senate Minority Leader Bobby Singleton wants to be chairman of the Alabama Democratic Party. So that's right, State Senate Minority Leader Bobby Singleton, who's a Democrat out of Greensboro, has represented his district since 2005 and been Minority Leader since 2018, announced he is running for Alabama Democratic Party chairman at the party's reorganization meeting, which is coming up on August 8th. Now, in a press release, Singleton emphasized that he has no enemies within the party, is focused on winning rather than internal fights, which there have been a bunch in the Alabama Democrat Party recently, and aims to better support candidates through improved messaging, voter turnout, and fundraising, especially by seeking support from Alabama's business community. He will challenge the incumbent Chairman Randy Kelly and expressed optimism about the party's strong ticket this cycle. So, probably be better for the party, honestly, if he won, but, we'll see. Oh, yeah, more issues when it comes to flock cameras. The latest moral panic here. Geneva County Commission has apparently taken a step to remove flock safety camera from the county right-of-way. So this is just the latest example. This issue keeps coming up. I talked about yesterday. That was an issue in Red Bay. So the Geneva County Commission has approved sending a formal notice of encroachment to the city regarding a flock safety camera installed on County Road 9 in an unincorporated area of the county. Now, Commissioner Weston Spivey noted that the camera sits on a county-maintained right-of-way in violation of county policy, which requires permits for automatic license plate readers. Once notified, the city will have 10 days to remove it. Now, Spivey's concern centers on the improper placement process rather than the cameras themselves. But as you know, and we've talked about, many cities, many areas, counties, probably states in the future want to ban it outright. So we'll talk about that. Number 2 today, Doug Jones, who's running for governor as the Democrat nominee against Tuberville, is blaming Tuberville, saying he will turn Alabama into a data center dumping ground for billionaires. So former U.S. Senator Doug Jones, who is the Democratic nominee for Alabama governor, used a speech in Birmingham to criticize Republican opponent Tuberville for supporting rapid development of AI data centers, calling it an effort to turn the state into a dumping ground for projects benefiting billionaires while ignoring local concerns about water, utilities, and the environment. Now, Tuberville obviously disagrees with that. We're going to talk about that in the next hour. Jones proposed a 1-year moratorium on such developments to establish proper regulations and accused Tuberville of prioritizing special interests and wealthy donors over everyday Alabamians. He also outlined his own priorities, including protecting IVF access, supporting rural hospitals, raising the minimum wage, the usual Democrat stuff. So he's trying to separate himself here. Number 1 today, U.S. Senator Katie Britt is backing a bipartisan Russia-Iran sanctions bill that has now advanced in the Senate. So U.S. Senator Katie Britt joined a bipartisan group of senators in advancing the Lindsey Graham Sanctioning Russia and Iran Act of 2026, which the Senate moved forward yesterday via an 86-12 cloture vote hours after Graham's funeral in a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, the legislation, which Britt helped to negotiate and champion, would impose primary and secondary sanctions on Russia and its supporters in the war against Ukraine, including up to 100% tariffs limited to the top 5 importers of Russia oil or gas and countries aiding energy sanctions evasion, while also extending restrictions on funding for Iran's energy and weapons sectors to prevent their lapse. So Katie Britt described the effort as a way to honor Graham's legacy by giving the president tools to pressure Putin's war machine and hold Tehran accountable, urging swift passage and quick House action, which I think it will pass. I mean, one thing that's kind of interesting about the war in Ukraine is you're getting a lot of the Republicans who are very much against it. They haven't talked about it as much lately, and the reason why is Ukraine is winning. And we're realizing that we could benefit from that, not only because it's against Russia, but because they have really helped develop drone technology and innovated on the battlefield, and we can learn from them. So we can innovate better on the battlefield. So it's kind of interesting how that's kind of playing out, but we'll have to see what happens. And I'll play some cuts of Katie Britt talking about it yesterday. A little bit. I'll do that a little bit later on in the show. Right now, I got to tell you about Larry's Pistol and Pawn, located in Madison, off Greenbrier Exit 3 by the Big Rusty Water Tower. Another location in Huntsville, off North Memorial Parkway. And they really are the best places in town if you want to buy a newer used firearm, maybe ammunition especially. Sometimes it could be hard to really be able to stock up on ammunition. Now, if you're looking for the best in jewelry as well, they have that. I mean, a huge selection. As I've mentioned, I had coworkers. One coworker needed some rings for a wedding, got it there. I had family members buy, my mother-in-law bought earrings there. I bought my wife diamond earrings there. My mom bought a nice sapphire ring there. I've had friends talk about, they were looking for jewelry, buying stuff there. And I've also known a lot of people that buy other things as well. And there's so much to shop for. You can also sell or pawn anything of value at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. So go to the location in Madison, and while you're there, you can check out Larry's Firearm Collection Museum in the back of the store, which is really cool. I mean, they have Civil War stuff, World War II history, World War I. I mean, all kinds of cool stuff to look at. So go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Find out more at pistolandpawn.com. And when you do, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. We'll be back here in a moment with Robert Spencer on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Hey, I'm Chris Van Vliet. Go behind the scenes and beyond the headlines with the biggest names in pro wrestling and beyond.
Jeff Jarrett, great to see you.
In this business, the story behind the scenes, so much more entertaining than what you see on camera.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman.
Mr. Heyman, you are a master at the little things. That's how you turn good into great.
What does it take to achieve greatness? Whatever it takes, I'm willing to do.
That's an Emmy-winning performance.
How about it?
Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
We're going to talk about the latest in Iran right now. Robert Spencer is joining the show. He is the director of Jihad Watch, which you can go to jihadwatch.org. He's an expert when it comes to radical Islamism and the Middle East. Robert, thank you so much for coming on.
Always good to talk to you, Yaffee. Thank you.
So I was talking with someone earlier, and they basically said the only way to deal with the Iranian regime now is to basically go all out. Take out their power plants, take out their bridges. They're not going to really going to be able to negotiate. This is the only way we can get control of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, what do you think? Is that what we have to do here?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, as a matter of fact, because the fact is nobody really wants to face it, but this regime, the Islamic regime in Tehran, is going to keep coming until it no longer exists. There is no scenario in which they're going to say, oh, yeah, you won, we lost, we surrender, we'll sign the peace agreement. It's never going to happen. If they sign an agreement, it will only be a temporary one as far as they're concerned that will enable them to gather their strength to fight again more effectively down the road.
Yeah, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said they're probably not ready to do a deal yet, but they will be soon because the price they're paying is very high. It's a head for an eye instead of an eye for eye, so to speak.
Well,
go ahead.
I admire Marco Rubio a great deal, but like I say, it's just never going to get to that point. They're going to keep fighting. Do you remember the scene in, I'm dating myself now, Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Of course.
Where two knights are fighting and one of them cuts off the arm and the other arm
yes.
and the leg of his opponent, and the knight who's dismembered just keeps saying, oh, come on, that's all you got? Come on. I can't, it's so easy to beat you, and so on. That's the Iranian regime. Wow. They're never going to give up. And the only thing we can do to end this definitively is topple that regime.
So, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean we should have boots on the ground? Does that mean we just bomb them so they can't survive? Does that mean we arm the rebels? And what rebels? Like, which rebels would we arm? What do you think?
Okay, this is the very difficult aspect of this. I certainly don't think that we should send American troops in there. And so one thing that we could do, and I think that we probably should have done some time ago, would be to arm the Kurds, who have been faithful allies of the United States going back to the Iraq War and the toppling of Saddam Hussein. And it was Erdogan, the president of Turkey, who prevented that from happening. Trump was leaning toward this idea a few months ago. And Erdogan, who hates the Kurds, has been making war against the Kurds, wants to incorporate Kurdistan in Syria into his revived Ottoman Empire, persuaded Trump not to arm the Kurds because he's afraid that, sure, they'll topple the Iranian regime, but they might end up toppling him as well.
Okay, so, that's true in our fight against ISIS as well, correct? We had got a lot of help from the Kurds.
Yeah, and there again, Turkey was not, even though it's ostensibly a U.S. ally and a member of NATO, was no help and actually was giving safe passage to ISIS jihadis to cross Turkey into Iraq and Syria when the ISIS caliphate was operating. And so this Erdogan regime is not a reliable ally. Trump should not be listening to Erdogan and taking his advice, but that's the situation that we're in right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about Pakistan? Because we've been talking to them a lot, too. I mean, J.D. Vance went over there and said, we love Pakistan. I'm guessing you're not a big fan of that regime either.
No, we love Pakistan, but they don't love us. Yeah. And they have made that abundantly clear. Pakistan is an Islamic republic, just like the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's practically as hostile to the United States in a de facto way. It doesn't go around screaming death to America, but it acts as if the U.S. is its adversary. It is very hospitable to jihad groups that want to destroy America. It is not a welcoming place for American interests. They've been working with the Chinese on the Belt and Road Initiative rather than with the United States. And so for Trump to think that this is a reliable ally that's going to help us out with Iran, well, it's naive at best.
Yeah, I tend to think you're right. I'm speaking with Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch. Do want to ask you as well, we have this whole situation with Saudi Arabia. So President Donald Trump said Thursday that Saudi Arabia will not enrich uranium, but there is a landmark nuclear deal signed with the U.S. this week. So I guess they would have to import uranium. But apparently we're making a deal with them so they could have nuclear power. Now we're told that if they have nuclear power, then they could sell more oil to the rest of the world. I can't imagine Saudi Arabia takes that much oil for themselves to begin with. Like, I don't think it's a huge country in that regard. What do you think about the idea, though, of letting Saudi Arabia have nuclear energy?
This is another bad idea, and Trump said just today that he was not going to conclude any deal with the Saudis unless they entered the Abraham Accords, by which apparently he assumes that will mean that they will give up all hostility to Israel. But the Saudis have made it clear repeatedly and in the recent past that they will never enter the Abraham Accords and make any kind of normalization agreement with Israel as long as there's no Palestinian state. Now, the thing about a Palestinian state, even though everybody goes around talking about the two-state solution all the time, that would actually be no solution at all. A Palestinian state would be like Gaza was when the Israelis withdrew from Gaza in 2005. It just became a new jihad base for renewed attacks against Israel. The Palestinian state would become another jihad base for more attacks against Israel. And the idea would be to ultimately destroy Israel altogether. There would be no question of a Palestinian state existing side by side in peace with the Israelis, which is what the cliche is. And this is the big problem with talking about the Saudis getting nuclear energy, that they will only, Trump's making the Abraham Accords a condition, but the Saudis have placed a further condition on that they won't join unless there's a Palestinian state. So the next step would be for Trump to force the Israelis to accept a Palestinian state, which will mean a loss of their already very tiny, a portion of their very tiny territory to start with, and the creation of a state massively funded by the World Human Rights Organizations and the European Union, and probably the U.S. as well, that is inveterately hostile to what remains of Israel and vows to destroy it. And so this is not really what the U.S. president ought to be doing, but it doesn't seem as if he realizes what he used to understand when he spoke about the dangers of Islamic jihad and so on during his first term.
Yeah, I don't really understand it other than he just wants a deal, right? He's just all about the deal kind of thing. But you're right.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy who makes peace, the great peacemaker, give him the Nobel Peace Prize and all that. But if it's on a spurious basis, it's not going to last, well, then the award's going to be hollow.
Yeah, and they're never going to give Trump that award anyway. He should give up that dream. I mean, they are never going to give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. And you make a good point as well. I mean, if you agree to that, agree with the Saudis, give them a state, you're basically rewarding them for October 7th at this point, right? That's basically like, oh, they slaughtered 1,000 people in Israel October 7th. And what did they get out of it? What they wanted, a state. I mean, that's kind of crazy.
State. And that's their next step to destroying Israel altogether. And we should remember that the Saudis immediately condemned Israel after October 7th. And so it's very clear that they're on the side of the jihad force, and that's not going to change. And so the problem that we have here is that the president doesn't seem to realize the nature and magnitude of the global Islamic jihad.
Speaking with Robert Spencer of jihadwatch.org, do want to ask you as well, how worried are you about some of these Democrat socialist candidates who are also, I mean, basically Islamists? You had Mamdani out there this week saying he really wishes he could arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, take him to the International Criminal Court for genocide. He would never say that about anyone in the Iranian leadership, right? But Netanyahu, he wants to arrest. But this seems to be a growing movement within the Democrat Party.
Yes, it does. I think, as a matter of fact, the new Democrat Party mainstream, and they are on their way to taking over the whole party. And what used to be fringe positions among a small handful of Democrats is going to be the basic position of the party in the very near future. The future of the party is AOC and Ilhan Omar and the Democrat socialists who are coming in the next Congress, including a number of Muslim candidates, Daria Liza, Avila Chevalier, Adam Hamawi, and then of course there's the New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. This is the new Democrat Party, and they're going to continue the work that they've already started and is already well underway of essentially mainstreaming Marxism in the United States.
Pretty unfortunate there, but I think, I keep going back and forth of how big of a threat they are. You know, if you had to rate it between 0 and 10, I almost say a 5 right now, but it's really about the foothold, right, that they've gained in the party. So over time, they can kind of gain more and more influence.
Yeah, exactly. It's the proverbial camel's nose under the tent. They're in now. They're winning. They are young and dynamic. The party regulars look old and tired, like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and they're clearly the future of the party.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Robert Spencer, do you have any new books out or anything? I know you write a book like every other week, so I always have to ask. Have any new books out you want to promote?
The Tragedy of Islam, Failure and Excuses, about how Islam is not good for individuals or societies. And it explains why the Islamic societies of the world are all economic basket cases, unless they've struck oil. But that's the only way that they have gotten out of the economic morass. This book explains that and much more.
Very interesting at Amazon.com, I believe, as well. Robert, really appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thanks. Have a great day.
The Yaffee Program.
We're back here on the Yaffee Program. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you're joining the show today. If you want to weigh in on the text line, you can. One person actually just did. So you can weigh in on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. One person said this about my interview with Robert Spencer. Said, I am in agreement with Robert Spencer and Jihad Watch. We're being infiltrated and coerced by radical Islamists in numerous ways. Wake up, America. So if you agree or disagree with me, tell me on the Yaffee text line. Got to talk a little bit about, I had this in the bullet points, but give you some more details about how the Russia sanctions bill, which is put in Lindsey Graham's name. So you had the funeral ceremonies of Lindsey Graham yesterday. Members of Congress, world leaders were there, including Vladimir Zelensky. According to Politico, it says senators voted overwhelmingly Tuesday night to advance a sweeping Russia sanctions bill that Senator Lindsey Graham had long sought to move forward before his unexpected death. So it was an 86-12 procedural vote. The vote came shortly after Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky addressed senators on Capitol Hill and followed the funeral of South Carolina senator who was a stalwart supporter of Ukraine until his passing. The legislation gained momentum after his death, of course, galvanizing senators to take action on the bill in his name. Lawmakers renamed the bill after their former colleague. Now, just so you know, it would sanction Russian leaders, its energy sector, and shadow fleet. It also would extend certain sanctions on Iran, a last-minute addition after lawmakers struck a deal to expand the scope of the legislation earlier on Tuesday. So one of the big champions of this is one of our U.S. senators in Alabama, Katie Britt. She spoke in front of the Senate yesterday. So go on, if you can, Walker, play Katie Britt cut 1 for me.
It was just 3 days before that this legislation and this cause lost its champion, Senator Lindsey Graham. Today, many of us attended his service at the National Cathedral. And in typical Lindsey fashion, he somehow orchestrated a vote on Ukraine's future, on peace through strength, on that very same day. While this sanctions bill quickly amassed bipartisan support across the Senate, it took more than a year of tireless work by one man and a few friends, Senator Dick Blumenthal, Senator Jeanne Shaheen, and Senator Roger Wicker, to finally get this to the floor. Even though Lindsey is not physically with us today, his presence can certainly be felt in this chamber. During his 33 years of public service, Lindsey achieved a great deal.
So now it does say here, according to Politico, that some House Democrats are likely to push back on this bill over concerns that it grants Trump's wider tariff authority, even though it's a Ukraine-backed Russian sanctions bill. It's going to be hard for Democrats not to vote for that. With all the virtue signaling they've done on Ukraine in recent years, to not vote for this now would be very interesting. Going to play a Katie Britt cut 2.
Opportunity to advance this legislation at a critical juncture in the war, where Russia is the weakest that it has been since the start of the war more than 4 years ago. This legislation will give the president the tools and the economic firepower that he needs to sanction individuals who fund Russian war and its machine, to stop countries from purchasing Russian oil and gas that is Putin's financial lifeline. And it will also hold the regime in Tehran accountable for fueling 47 years of terrorism around the globe. There is no reason this legislation should not advance with overwhelming bipartisan support, Mr. President, and I hope that that's what we see here today.
All right, so, I mean, they did see it on the floor of the Senate, but as I mentioned, well, House Democrats support it. I think they will because it was pretty smart to put Lindsey Graham's name on it. Going to play cut 3 of Katie Britt.
So, Mr. President, let's honor Lindsey's memory the best way we know how, by responding to Putin's war of aggression with a show of strength, and vote today to hold the Kremlin accountable. It is time now to get the Lindsey O. Graham Sanctioning Russia and Iran Act of 2026 to the president's desk. I hope my colleagues will join me in doing just that this evening.
All right, there you go. So I think they will. And, you know, I was very supportive of sanctions against Russia, and I was very supportive of backing Ukraine and Zelensky, much more than even some on my side. There were a lot of people on my side suggesting, no, we should get out. Now, it looks like Ukraine might be able to just win. I don't know. I still kind of think we have to make a deal. But I think we're finding out it made sense for us in the long run to back Ukraine. Not because we love Ukraine or something, but because it was good to kind of hit back against Russia. It's good for the world. So we'll talk more about that later on. Coming up next, I got to move on to Alabama stuff. Data centers They're coming. Well, Tuberville wants them. Doug Jones does not, which kind of should tell you everything, I think. But we'll talk more about that next on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
Jim Rome takes on sports.
I will always have a complicated relationship with this game, but people evolve. So do sports. Do not make me regret this. Do not make me devolve back to that guy that so many clones wish that I still was. And do not embarrass the entire country. Now, I can go back. I can get there fast. Lose tonight, and you got a real problem. Do not blow it.
The Jim Rome Show podcast.
You've been warned.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Yaffee program on WVNN.
All right, so Walker is back today, and we got to educate her more on flock cameras. And, yesterday we were talking about how one of the groups against them, they're called D-Flock. They want to deflock Alabama. And another group against them is Get the Flock Out. It's another of the cameras. So this is where we are. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But before we get to that panic, we got to talk about the panic of data centers and the separation between the two candidates on that issue. So we'll get to that more. You are listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. So as you know, there has been a debate, and many of you have weighed in as well, on allowing the construction of new data centers. Now, look, the reasonable response, if I'm going to be a voice of reason here, the reasonable response is to leave it up to local communities. In some communities, it could be a boom. It could really make sense. In some areas, maybe not. Now, I spoke with State Representative Rex Reynolds recently. He said Huntsville already has some and doesn't really need any more, but other communities could do it. Tuberville, though, has been very, 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 very pro data center. Maybe, I wonder if Tuberville will come out on the flock cameras. Maybe he'll be pro flock camera. I'd love to see that. I'm curious about that. I'm just going to start asking lawmakers on the show about it, I guess. But just so you know, just kind of an example here. A lot of this came up when he gave a speech, what was it, a couple weeks ago? Kind of surprised people how pro data center he was. And Trump has come out very pro data center. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Play the Tuberville cut that I sent you.
Everybody asks, how do you do that? I've talked to several groups. I've talked to fire chiefs, police chiefs. Here's how you do it. We got to grow our state, but one of the big things that's bringing in a lot of tax money across this country is these data centers. And everybody's heard about them, big tech and all that. I mean, you can forget about doing away with it because it's coming. Everybody said, well, AI is going to do away with jobs. It's going to create jobs as well as do away with jobs. But you got to have data centers. I think there's 27 states that already said, oh, we're not going to build data centers. We're not going to do that. It makes too much noise. It's going to ruin the climate. Bull crap. I mean, they're listening to all this nonsense they see on social media that's coming from China because China does not want us to grow. The state of Alabama will grow. We're going to do data centers. And it will help you tremendously. The tax money that comes from those things is unbelievable for schools, for law enforcement, for anything that's done. And we're not the richest state in the country, but I'm telling you, we're fixing to make a big move on it. I like winning championships. I like winning. I do not like losing, and we're not going to lose. And a lot of that comes with being able to grow the state in the way that it needs to be grown to make sure that we're.
All right, so he's big on AI and data centers. Says AI is going to create jobs. And he's actually, in that speech, he was talking to a sheriff's association, and he said, look, to give sheriffs what they need, local communities what they need, you need more tax revenue. The way to get more tax revenue is to build new data centers. An easy way to get more tax revenue. Now, of course, my goal in life is not to make sure governments have more tax revenue. That is not my goal. But as I've said before, I tend to think when you're talking about data centers, it reminds me of the panic about fracking years ago. We all thought fracking was going to destroy the local environment. It was going to destroy the water. It was going to be bad. No, it was a great boon for this country. And so some of this, I don't know if this will be as much of a boon, maybe, but I don't want to just discount it and say, well, can't have it. We're going to need it. We're going to need AI. People are using AI. A lot of people criticizing it use AI to criticize it. But, Doug Jones, who I said before, he's not seriously running for governor. He's not actually running for governor because the stuff he was saying was pretty crazy. And it was pretty obvious he just wanted to be like a CNN pundit in the future or something, an influencer. But I guess he had some kind of advisor point out and say, look, here's an issue where you can differentiate yourself from Tuberville, and you might actually get some Republicans who agree with you. And that's the data center issue. But I think this idea of just putting these moratoriums on for like a year, 2 years, I don't know, especially statewide. If a local community wants it, let them do it. But go ahead and play. So Doug Jones, this was earlier this week. He was in Birmingham giving a speech, and he had mentioned data centers, and he disagrees with Tuberville on that. Go in and play Doug Jones cut one.
I'm talking about the current high-speed, no-holds-barred effort to make Alabama a dumping ground for big AI data centers for the rich billionaires. The lack of transparency has been one of the single biggest drivers of the opposition to data centers and data center construction. Elected officials in our state have literally signed non-disclosure agreements to hide what they are doing behind closed doors with no input from us, the people of the state of Alabama. I want to be unequivocal about this. I am for a 1-year moratorium to halt data center development in the state of Alabama.
So these are the same Democrats that were against fracking. Now they're against data centers. And it's not just him. So Democrat Representative Terry Sewell, she's in Congress out of Birmingham. She's put forward a bill or co-sponsored a bill that would have a temporary moratorium on data centers, these new data centers, which you got to be specific. I mean, data centers already exist. There are all kinds of different types of data centers. But she wants a temporary moratorium nationwide until Congress can weigh in, I guess, on this. It just seems like a moral panic. Is this really the right approach here? Now, I thought this was kind of interesting, too. Doug Jones was giving an interview with Chuck Todd, formerly of Meet the Press, and he was asking him about the socialists that are kind of taking over his party. Doug Jones tries to portray himself as like the more moderate, and maybe compared to some of the socialists he is, but he's pretty radical left these days. But going to play Doug Jones cut two.
Should the Democrats be purging some of the socialists?
No.
Or you think, look, you don't agree with the socialists, but they could be in the party.
Look, I don't think you can paint that kind of broad brush. Mm-hmm. Certainly, if there are people that are saying certain things, for instance, and I look at it from the other side, if they're clearly like totally racist views and things like that, I would say you got to do something about that.
Right.
But simply because somebody has a different view on economic opportunities and whether or not there should be health care for all that the government provides versus the way I look at it as trying to find affordable health care for everybody, I don't think those people should be purged. They've got a constituency as well. Yeah. And it's through those voices that you can gain some knowledge. Yeah. But I don't think they should be purged, but that's just not where I think most of the country is. I really still believe that's not where most of the country is. It's sure as hell not where Alabama is.
Right.
Okay, so he's right about the last part at least. Now, it's going to be hard for them to purge the socialists from the party, but just so you all know, this is not just, oh, we want Medicare for all. We want to grow the welfare state. No, the Mamdanis of the world, they want more government overseeing or controlling the means of production. He's putting forward socialist grocery stores. This week, he also doxed a bunch of addresses for rich people in New York, saying, oh, these are not the primary residences of a lot of these rich people in New York, and they should sell their properties to us, and doxed their locations. Now, apparently, they got some of the list wrong, too. But why would you do that? Well, to intimidate the rich, because this is about rising up against the rich. Workers of the world unite and all that stuff. He's also talking about arresting the prime minister of Israel. All kinds of radical stuff. When someone says they're a socialist, believe them talking about Mamdani. So it's much more than just, oh, they want to expand healthcare options. No, the fact is, maybe you did. Maybe a lot of Democrats dipped their toe into socialism a little bit, but now it's not enough for people, and they just want to shove us all in there, in the pool of socialism, I guess. But the first moral panic there, you have data centers, and I'm curious your take. Maybe you agree with Doug Jones for once. Maybe some of you actually do think he's right. We need some kind of moratorium on data centers. Do we need a moratorium on flock cameras? So just so you know, and it's just telling Walker about it. Flock is the brand of cameras that are being used across the country. So Flock, I was wondering where they got the word. When I first heard about it, I was like, are we talking about cameras for birds or something? But no, apparently it's just the brand. But these cameras, basically, they read license plates and they read, the type of car that's out there. And they use AI and they put it in a database. And law enforcement officials later on, if they're looking for someone, maybe a criminal, maybe a kidnapped child, Amber Alert, they want to be able to go to the database, look at the information, and collect the information after the fact to try to find someone. So it's basically like a surveillance camera in a way, but it's using technology to better track people. So some people say that's a stepping stone to the surveillance state. But it has helped. So I saw this post earlier, and this is actually out of Florida. But it says flock cameras helped in Daytona Beach homicide and a Marion child kidnapping. So there are a lot of examples of people wanting to destroy them and a lot of jokes and memes about it now and everything else. But apparently it has been helpful to find missing kids. It has been helpful in finding criminals. I bet, the Guthries wish there were flock cameras near their mom's house, for instance. So that's why people are torn on this. I tend to think, well, by the way, first off, Walker, do you feel more informed about flock cameras now?
I do feel more informed. People don't realize just how many cameras like that are out there, because
right.
I know that all the time, like, people will get caught that way because they have those like
Ring
along
doorbell
interstates.
cameras or all kinds of, yeah. So are you for or against them? What do you think?
I think it's great because,
Okay.
people need to think about it in the way that if something happened to someone that they cared about, one of those could be the reason that they're, like, found and safe.
I mean, it actually has happened. They've used them. For me, it's like I can understand some of the concerns. But what I would say is just it's okay to put safeguards in place, like make sure law enforcement, they need special permissions to access the data, that the data isn't forever, all that stuff. Like to have some type of system in place because it can be abused, like anything can be abused. But I don't want to completely get rid of the technology.
Right.
Because someone might abuse it. Because, a lot of people could do that with a lot of other things. So if you want to weigh in, you can. We have the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. We'll be back here in a moment on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee Program on WVNN.
We're back here on the Yaffee Program. I am Alabama's voice of reason, Huntsville's conservative conscience. By the way, you want to like the Yaffee Facebook page? Got a post up there about Dr. Fauci right now, pleading the fifth. You can see that and much more on my Facebook page. I'm always posting parts of the show as well, so check that out. By the way, I just saw that you can get Meta verified with your Facebook page, but of course, it costs money. Everything, there's always a charge for that kind of stuff, which is very annoying. I just have to say. All right, also what's very annoying, they released some of the audio from when President Joe Biden, he was president at the time, was doing this interview with Robert Hur about classified documents and other things. And, you know, a lot of the focus before when the transcript was released is that he was just an old man, didn't know what he was doing. But apparently something that's come out of this is he basically admits to mishandling classified documents in this interview, which is revealing. Go ahead and play the Joe Biden cut I sent you, Walker.
So this was early on in 2009. I just found all the classified stuff downstairs.
I just found in 2009 all the classified stuff downstairs. Now, the reason most people bring this up is we remember that the FBI, who, by the way, some of the FBI leadership came out later and were like, yeah, we really didn't want to raid Mar-a-Lago, but we were kind of forced into that. They raided Mar-a-Lago because they believed President Trump had mishandled classified documents after he was president. And I knew that was never, everyone was like, that was the more serious charge against Trump. And I guess it was, except one, Trump was president when he took the classified documents. So there was always a legal theory that by him merely doing that, he had the power to declassify it. Joe Biden was not president when he took those classified documents and brought them to his house, which means he did not have that authority at the time. But Trump did. But beyond that, the whole issue never had any real credibility with me once we found out that it seems everyone in D.C. was mishandling classified documents. I'm not saying that's right, but Mike Pence had documents. Joe Biden had documents from when he was in the Senate. There were other people as well. So I was like, okay, it's really... But they didn't raid all their homes until, they actually did search Biden's home after the whole thing with Trump. But once all that stuff started coming out, and this is more evidence, it became pretty obvious it was a political hit to go after Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And just more evidence for you on that. If you want to weigh in, you can. 866-494-9866. We'll get to what's trending coming up next. Right now, I got to tell you about my good friends at VIP Care. If you're 65 years or older and you're looking for a great primary care doctor, it could be for you or a family member. Sometimes we have family members who are that age and they're just having trouble finding a great doctor. Well, they believe that your provider should know your name, understand your goals, and take the time to listen. So you'll enjoy longer appointments, same-day availability, when you need care, of course, and 24/7 access to an on-call provider. And many of your healthcare needs can be handled in one convenient location, from wellness visits to preventative screenings. Go to GetVIPCare.com today. GetVIPCare.com. Get the care you need. When you do, let them know Yaffee sent you. All right, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee Program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
The United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
I'm your host, Megan Klingerberg. One thing I promised you is an all-access pass that you wouldn't get on any other show. And we found out that whoever comes on scores a goal. Burhope, Freeman, Trusty. U.S. Soccer Podcast magic is real, people. We still got plenty of coverage all throughout this World Cup. Okay, let's get into it.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast, presented by Henkel. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
We're back on the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you have joined the show today. Don't forget to like the Yaffee Facebook page or the WVNN Facebook page as well. And download the WVNN app while you're at it. Walker is here producing, so let's get to it. We have What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Sponsored by Coleman Furniture Market. Always fun to go to their Facebook page, like their Facebook page, and see some of the latest stuff they got coming in. They get new stuff all the time. So they posted a picture. And by the way, you can see in the background of the picture just how huge their showroom is. Spent a lot of time looking at furniture in there. But they have a picture of a Lazy Boy Bennett Duo series, talking about a recliner, a couch, a love seat as well that has, reclining seats. Gives you the comfort of a recliner with a clean, finished look from every angle. Whether it's floating in the middle of the room or placed against the wall, it looks right at home. So it's comfort, meaning versatility, and that's just one example of what they have available for great prices, by the way, at Coleman Furniture Market. Now, they're located off 1807 2nd Avenue Southwest in Coleman, Alabama. Go to the website, ColemanFurnitureMarket.com as well. Find out more there. And when you do, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. All right, Walker, what's number 5 today?
Number 5 today, I hope you're hungry. It is National Chicken Wing Day.
Oh, nice.
And lots
gotta
of,
have some. Okay, it's done. I have to have some.
Lots of restaurants have some good deals going. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar has wings for 99 cents all day. And Buffalo Wild Wings has, you can get 6 free wings with any $15 purchase.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah, Dave & Buster's, you can order wings starting at 50 cents and $1 for bone-in, so I'm guessing that the 50 cents is for boneless. And then there is Hooters, Outback, Pizza Hut, Twin Peaks, even Whataburger. I didn't know that Whataburger had wings.
I didn't either.
Yeah, they're called Whata-Wings.
Okay, well, of course they are.
They are buy one, get one free on a 9-piece.
Okay, these are good deals. You mentioned Outback. They have surprisingly good wings. You wouldn't think so, but they're actually really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you can get 60 wings for $60.
At Outback?
Yes.
Is that it? I don't want to get 60. That's what I have to get. Okay.
Gotta have at least, I don't know. I feel like you have to have at least 5 people to get through all that.
Right? Okay.
But, and then Wingstop and Zaxby's.
Well, Wingstop is good. So,
yeah.
Okay.
You can get 5 free wings with any purchase of $10 or more.
That's not bad. That's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think so.
Remember that. Hope you're listening, Stephanie. You might be getting wings today. Just saying. All right. Is there anything else today?
Those are all the ones that I am familiar with.
Okay. All right. So we're moving on to number 4.
Number 4, YouTube and Peacock are teaming up to launch a streaming bundle early next year. And that will be $15.99.
That's not bad. I mean, what is YouTube going to have? I mean, I know they have YouTube TV, but that's like live TV, isn't it?
Well, they have YouTube Premium.
So it's kind of bundled with that, you think?
Yes.
Okay. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, apparently Peacock Premium costs $10.99.
Right.
And then YouTube Premium itself is $15.99. So essentially, if you just get YouTube Premium, you'll have Peacock Premium.
Gosh, all these streaming things, though, because I have Hulu and Disney Plus and Netflix, and of course we have Prime. Now, Prime, you get a lot of other stuff other than the streaming. But I kind of wanted to get, I have HBO Max, but I got that with my phone. It came with the phone plan. But it's like, I kind of wanted Paramount Plus, but now I have to get that. I can't keep up.
Yeah, I do have Paramount Plus because they had I think it was a summer deal where it was 99 cents for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the only reason I have it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, they got you.
They did.
That's what it sounds like. All right. What is number 3?
Number 3, the reflecting pool damage apparently, according to a witness, happened before the Olympian David Hearn ever touched it.
Okay, so wait, say that again. The hurricane damage.
The reflecting pool damage.
Or the reflecting pool damage, excuse me. They think it happened before it was vandalized.
A witness is saying that the damage was there beforehand, that it was already leaking more than 1 million gallons of water a week from a rip in the liner. And that itself ranges from $6,000 to $15,000 in repairs. And
so this is after, it's before it was vandalized, they're saying, but after the redo.
yes. And now they have to prove that he actually caused any damage, and specifically more than $1,000 in damage to secure the felony conviction that they have on him.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had some suggest there were just several cuts to it. I mean, the only reason I thought maybe it was possible that it was vandalized is because we did have that 8647 in the lawn, like pretty close by.
Oh, right, yes.
And really big. So I was like, if someone could do that, it's to me not too far-fetched that someone would also vandalize the reflecting pool, but I don't know. I guess I'll have to be proven in court.
Yeah, and they're saying that the same repairs would have had to be done either way, so it's hard to calculate the damage specifically done by him if he did cause
just
damage.
turn it into a swimming pool. We could do that. We can have the America would just have open it up for swimming every now and then. I think I'd like that. Anyway, what's number 2?
Number 2, you can own part of KFC history as Colonel Sanders there's an auction for 71 of his personal items as well as 2 properties.
Oh, so you're not just talking about like the restaurant, his actual Colonel Sanders' actual
like
stuff.
His personal estate.
Nice.
you can even get his signature black bow tie.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a 1965 promotional film, as well as his former home called Blackwood Hall.
They're selling? I thought that was like a museum or something. They're selling it?
Yes.
Oh.
They have a briefcase, a commercial stove, several Bibles, and his record player.
So, if you get his bow tie, do you wear it? Or do you put it in like a case or something? I would think you would put it in a case, but you think someone buys it and just puts it on? Like the whole outfit?
It really depends on the person buying it.
Yeah.
But someone definitely would do that.
How much did they say how much they're selling it for?
It was listed at $4,400.
That is an expensive bow tie.
Right. And there's a bust of Colonel Sanders made by his daughter that has reached a $4,720 price point. He has a carving knife set for $800 and his original butcher block for $2,150.
I think of all those things, I would want the bust.
Yeah, I think the bust
Probably.
would be pretty cool.
I'm guessing the carving knife probably outdated a little bit. Probably doesn't
Probably.
work too well.
Though
Yeah.
I imagine he probably kept it in good...
Is
I
KFC
don't-
having a wing special today, by the way? If it's wing day, I have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it wasn't part of the list.
Yeah, now I want to know. It's wing day, and we're talking KFC. It's making me hungry. All right, what's number one?
Number 1, Civil War era cannonballs were found in a checked bag at Gulf Shores International Airport. Apparently, a juvenile stole the cannonballs from a storage area at Fort Morgan and then placed them in his grandmother's suitcase.
She had trouble getting it on the... Was she trying to get on a plane or something?
Yeah, I think they were, of course, smaller cannonballs.
Oh, okay.
But,
they could make it kind of heavy. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently the lead TSA officer thought that they might be medicine balls initially when looking at the x-ray, before he suspected that, this could be a live explosive. So they had to contact explosive specialists with the local law enforcement and made a huge deal out of this. And I really hope that this juvenile has learned their lesson.
Yeah, hopefully. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Thanks, Walker. I appreciate it. We'll be back with the Yaffee Program Rewind here in just a moment on WVNN.
The Yaffee Program.
Welcome back to the Yaffee Program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Believe in America again. That's what we do on the show as the left tries to get you to hate America. No, we want to believe in America. I'm telling you to believe in America again. That's how it works on the show. By the way, you're going to believe in my good friends at Jay's Appliance Outlet. If you're looking for maybe a new smart washer or dryer, you can upgrade your laundry space with high-performance washers and dryers designed for efficiency, reliability, and everyday experience and convenience at Jay's Appliance Outlet. Go to the website, see what I'm talking about. They have new arrivals coming in, Maytag and other top brands when it comes to washers and dryers. Go to jaysapplianceoutlet.com. But better yet, go see their showroom. It's off 72 in Athens. Or you can give them a call. Dial pound 250, say the keywords Jay's Appliance Outlet. You'll call them. You'll talk to a real person. They're family owned and operated. They are there, been doing this for years in the area. They're there to just help you get what you need for your home for the best price. By the way, it's not like the prices the big box stores offer. Much better than that. They have scratch and dent deals as well. Discounts all over the place at Jay's Appliance Outlet. So I want you to go today. And when you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, let's end the show like we usually do. We have the Yaffee Program Rewind. All right, it is that time of the show where I remind you if you missed any of it live, well, the podcast is up on the website, WVNN.com. Of course, you can subscribe and get it anywhere you subscribe and listen to your podcast. Available for you. I'm not going to do the show. I'm not going to do the whole show again. I'm not going to repeat it. I'll recap it here, but if you want to listen to the show, you got to go check out the podcast. So at the beginning of the show today, we talked about Dr. Fauci. He went in front of the Senate today. Rand Paul has this hearing he's leading. Want to ask him questions because he had these diary entries. It looked like he was lying. And he decided to just plead the fifth. Now, I have to admit, this should be a big fall from grace for Dr. Fauci. But we know the propaganda press and the Democrat Party, they're going to defend him. They're going to really defend him over this. They liked the fact that the government grabbed a lot of power. They used the masks and everything else to virtue signal. Some places still do, honestly. But Dr. Fauci, as I mentioned, pled the fifth. Go on and play Dr. Fauci Cut 2 for me, Walker, if you can.
Under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
All right, there you go. Now, Rand Paul also spoke at the hearing. Go ahead and play the Rand Paul cut for me.
President Biden issued you a sweeping pardon extending back to 2014, the same pardon he gave to his son Hunter. A pardon may protect a person from criminal prosecution, doesn't rewrite history. It does not erase documents. It does not convert a misleading statement into a truthful one. And it does not prevent Congress from establishing what happened. There will be another pandemic. There will be another crisis. And there will again be officials who insist that uncertainty must be hidden for the public's own good. They will demand obedience. They will invoke science. I am the science, as though it were a commandment. They will argue that government officials cannot be questioned because questioning them would undermine public trust. They have it backwards. It is secrecy that destroys trust. It is arrogance that destroys trust. It is censorship that destroys trust. And it is the refusal to admit error that destroys trust. That loss of trust may be your most damaging legacy.
All right, there you go. We talked about that. The podcast is up. I always think, too, I played this earlier. I'll play it again. I always think of this Jon Stewart clip talking about how it probably was leaked from a lab. Play the Jon Stewart cut for me.
That could very well be, and Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins and NIH have said, like, it should definitely be investigated.
Don't stop with the logic and people and things. The name of the disease.
Wait a second.
Is on the building.
Wait a second. But it could be possible. You could be right. It could be possible that they have the lab in Wuhan to study the novel coronavirus diseases because in Wuhan, there are a lot of novel coronavirus diseases because of the bat population there.
I understand.
It's like the saying,
it's
like,
a
wait a
local
second.
specialty, and it's the only place to find bats. You won't find bats anywhere
like
else.
saying
why? Wait, Austin, Texas has thousands of them that fly out of a cave every night. Every night at dusk. Is there a coronavirus, an Austin coronavirus? No, it doesn't seem to be an Austin coronavirus. The only coronavirus we have is in Wuhan.
Yes.
Where they have a lab called, what's the lab called again, Stephen?
The Wuhan Novel Coronavirus Lab.
I believe that's the case.
And
now,
how long have you worked for Senator Ron Johnson?
Let me tell you something. About Ron Johnson. This is not a conspiracy. Here's the thing about science.
You could be right. You could be right.
But this is the problem with science. Science is incredible, but they don't know when to stop, and nobody in the room with those cats ever goes, yeah, I don't know if we should do that. Like, they're... A few years back,
I agree with you. If science can do it, they will do it.
They will do it. They're like, oh, curiosity killed the cat. Oh, okay, well, let's kill 10,000 cats to find out why. And you're like...
So there you go. I don't always like Jon Stewart, but that was pretty funny at the time. So we talked about that. We also had the Alabama bullet points as well, the top stories from around the state. So if you missed that, the headlines, check it out. The podcast will be up. Then we spoke with Robert Spencer, who is an expert when it comes to the Middle East. He's not happy with Trump and Iran these days. He thinks you're not going to be able to get them to make a deal with these constant pauses and ceasefires and everything. I tend to agree with them. But we talked about that earlier. Also talked about the fact that Katie Britt remembered Lindsey Graham and pushed a Russian sanctions bill that they named after Lindsey Graham. Go and play Katie Britt cut 1 for me.
It was just 3 days before that this legislation and this cause lost its champion, Senator Lindsey Graham. Today, many of us attended his service at the National Cathedral. And in typical Lindsey fashion, he somehow orchestrated a vote on Ukraine's future, on peace through strength, on that very same day. While this sanctions bill quickly amassed bipartisan support across the Senate, it took more than a year of tireless work by one man and a few friends, Senator Dick Blumenthal, Senator Jeanne Shaheen, and Senator Roger Wicker, to finally get this to the floor. Even though Lindsey is not physically with us today, his presence can certainly be felt in this chamber. During his 33 years of public service, Lindsay achieved a great deal.
All right, there you go. We talked about that earlier. The podcast is up. We talked about data centers. We talked about flock cameras. We talked about Joe Biden mishandling classified information. We also had What's Trending, which we do every day. So if you missed any of the show live, the podcast is up. So check it out. Thanks to Walker for producing today. Thanks to you for listening. The Vince Show is coming up next. And yes, I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. See you then.
It's the Yaffee Program on WVNN.
The United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
I'm your host, Megan Klingenberg. One thing I promised you is an all-access pass that you wouldn't get on any other show. And we found out that whoever comes on scores a goal. Burhope, Freeman, Trusty. U.S. Soccer Podcast magic is real, people. We still got plenty of coverage all throughout this World Cup. Okay, let's get into it.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast, presented by Henkel. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.